Good morning. This is one of those days where I really love being political, Paula. And it's because this show is coming to you because of a few messages I got from my youngest viewers, my teen viewers. And it has to do with a show I did. This past week, we've been doing a lot of shows about parental responsibility, about pregnancy. But I did a show about the vaccine that protects young people against ever being exposed or getting the human papillomavirus that causes cervical cancer in women and several different kinds of cancers in men. And so I got some messages from my teen viewers saying, my parents don't talk to me about my body. They don't talk to me about this stuff. And I wish they would. Or the only way I learn about this stuff is in health class in school. So this is not going to be a show about parent bashing because everybody parents in their own way. And you have every right to parent your children any way you want. I don't have children, and you all know that. But I often say if I did have children, I would want myself and my husband to be the first two people that our children would come to when they have questions. And I don't care who you are, I don't care who your kids are, I don't care where you live, I don't care where you go to church. Your children will have questions. And you have to decide as parents if you want them to ask you the questions or figure the answers out for themselves. Because I'm going to tell you something. There are four ways that your children will find the answers to what they're curious about, especially when it comes to their bodies and sex. They're either going to find out from you or from their school in health class, or they're going to find out through experimentation and their friends. Or they can just go online and everything's right there for them. All they have to do is type in the words. As parents, you have to decide, who do you want your children to come to with these questions? Then you're going to have to decide how you're going to answer them, because they're going to happen. And sadly, in today's society, these questions are coming up at a younger age because our kids are getting a little bit older before their actual years. We know this. We know that there are girls as young as 8 and 9 years old who start menstruating, getting their periods. That didn't used to happen. And again, I'm not a physician, so I don't know why it happens. But the day your daughter starts menstruating, she's going to have questions, of course, because there's blood coming out of her. And that's not supposed to happen because we teach our children that when you're bleeding, that's a bad thing. So you have to be ready to explain to your daughter why she is bleeding from her vagina. And you can use the big words. Believe me, these kids can handle it. And you're going to have to explain to her how to properly take care of herself. And because she is now menstruating, that also means that she can get pregnant. It doesn't mean she's going to run out and start having sex, okay? But God forbid, what if she's raped? What if she is molested? It's time to start thinking. And I know you don't want to think about that, parents, with an 8 or 9 or 10-year-old child. But you know what? That's part of being a parent. It's part of being a good parent. Is to, first of all, have that open line of communication where a child, your child, can come to you with their questions with no consequences, no shocked faces, no, oh my God, why are you asking me about that? Oh my God. You don't want to do that. Your children should be able to come to you at the dinner table sit down with you and say, I have a question. I'm curious about this. And a good parent, you can tell, okay? You can tell if the way the child is asking the question, exactly what they want to know, and then you can tell how much you need to say about it, okay? I mean, there comes a time when, we all try to give these children, I know my mom, the stork brings babies. The stork just delivers a baby to your doorstep. But then there comes a time when the kids are like, you know what, there really isn't a stork, right? And you have to explain to them how babies are really born, okay? I was an only child, so I actually did think the stork did it. Until I was like 11. And then my mom actually sat down with me the day I started menstruating, getting my period, at 11, and she read me a book, and they had a book back then. And the book was very age appropriate for an 11-year-old. But then I found out that actually my mom had to do something with my dad in order to have me. But it was cool because I understood it. And my mom, again, wasn't as open with me as she probably could have been, but I got the point. I got the point. Now, back when I was 11, that was a long, long time ago for you young viewers out there. You guys weren't even thought about. Your parents probably weren't even born, some of them, when I was 11. That's awful, isn't it? But back then, we didn't have children being raped. We didn't have pedophiles running around the neighborhoods. Maybe we had them, but we never heard about it. And it wasn't something that was such a concern. So I got the basics. I didn't get the fact that, wow, my daughter is 11, she's menstruating, maybe now I should put her on birth control, just in case, God forbid, she's raped or molested by a family member or somebody. Today, we have to think about that with our young girls. Because you have to remember that even if they're 10 years old, if they are menstruating, they can get pregnant. It doesn't mean they're promiscuous. It doesn't mean they're going to go out and look to have sex. But God forbid, if they're forced to have sex, they could end up pregnant. And do you want that? You have to think about that. And I know some people, they don't want to think about it. Their religion, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. Think about your child. We also have to talk about this curiosity our kids have, and they do. And they're getting it, sadly, younger and younger. The first time I heard the F word, my favorite word, the F-bomb, fuck, come on. All the kids have heard it, no big deal. But it was on the playground. I never heard it in my home. My mother never used it, my grandmother, I never heard it at home. But I came home and I said, Mom, what does fuck mean? And she's like, oh my God. She had that oh my God moment. And then she's like, well, where did you hear that word? And I said, at school, of course. And so she didn't give me the actual definition of the word and how many different ways it can be used, like a verb, a noun, an adverb, whatever. But she did tell me that it was a word that we don't use in our home and that is not a good word to use. And that was good. That was all I needed. That it's a bad word. One of my friends said it, and I shouldn't use it. That was enough. That's all the explanation I needed. And that's what I'm trying to say here on the show. The one thing you can count on as parents is that at some point your children, no matter how you've raised them, no matter what you preach at the dinner table, you're going to be virgins till your wedding night, they are going to be curious about their bodies because something happens in everyone's body, probably at an age that it shouldn't, but it does. It's just the way the body is made up. I remember boys used to be told if they masturbate, they're going to go blind. Well, you know what? They didn't go blind. And masturbation, actually, to be honest with you, is a lot healthier than going out and trying it on a girl. because that can lead to unwanted pregnancy, sexually transmitted diseases, all kinds of other issues, right? Kids will be curious. And as parents, you have a responsibility to be as honest as you possibly can when they ask you questions, and you need to let them know they can ask the questions, because if you don't want to answer their questions, I promise you, they will find the answers somewhere else, completely out of your control. It always bothers me when I hear that, and this happened when I was in school actually, that some parents, because they were very religious or they didn't want their children to know anything about their bodies or their sexuality, when we had the sex ed class, papers were sent home to our parents and they had to sign them. And some parents signed that they wanted their children out of class during the discussion on basically the birds and the bees, sex and sexuality, and the human body and our sexual reproductive organs, but for both boys and girls. They said the words vagina, they said the words penis in 7th grade health class, and some children were not present that day because their parents felt that being knowledgeable about their bodies would make them more apt to go out and use them, I guess, or their religion, or whatever. Here's my thought. I would rather that a child of mine have all the knowledge, real knowledge, that they can possibly have when they're out in the world when I'm not there. All of us put our kids on school buses. We put our kids into other people's hands, into other people's world. Our children today are influenced by their school, by their friends parents, and by the internet. Now, we didn't have the internet when I was young. These kids know a lot more than you think, and they're confused about what they see and hear out in the world. And when they come home to you to sit down at dinner, they want to have a safe place to ask questions about what confuses them in this world. And you got to be ready for it. You parents, you got to be ready for it, because by what you say to them, that is going to define, first of all, how much they feel they can trust you for future questions that can get even harder. It's also going to define how they feel about their own bodies. When I was 11 and 12 years old, I didn't know that there was a cancer out there that was caused by having sex. I didn't know that. And I don't think my mother or my grandmother knew it either, because I promise you, if they had known it, they would have let me know. You have sex, you're going to get the cancer. Unless you're married, which of course is all ridiculous, because married people get HPV too. But we need to send our children out into the world with as much knowledge as their brains can handle. And you know your kids better than I do, for sure, and better than the school does, better than their teachers do, and you certainly know your children better than their classmates do. So remember that. Remember that whatever information you withhold from your children, they're going to get it somewhere. Because the minute you shut off the conversation, you're too young to talk about that. No, that's nothing you need to worry about. That's not going to make the question go away. It's only going to be, why won't mom and dad talk about this? What is this? I better find out somewhere else about this topic. It's kind of like when you hate your daughter's boyfriend and I hate that guy, oh my God, and all of a sudden she's in love with him, she's going to marry him. And she's not in love with him, she's not going to marry him. But because you hate him, it's just like pushing her right toward him, right? You parents Parents all over the world have experienced this. The more you say, no, don't do it, the more they want to do it, just to piss you off. An open and honest relationship with your children where they can come to you with any questions they have, any confusion they have. So-and-so at school said this. Is that true, Mom? And be ready for the tough questions. Be ready to give them real answers. And yes, I will continue to talk on my show about the Gardasil vaccine, the vaccine that many parents are so terrified of, because it is the first ever vaccine that protects their children from getting a sexually transmitted disease that causes cancer once they become adults and start having sex. And believe me, I pray that every child waits till they are an adult and are emotionally and physically able to handle the responsibility that comes with having a sexual relationship with anybody. Not necessarily the husband or the future wife or whoever, with anybody. Because sex is a big deal. I know that Hollywood and TV shows make it seem like it's not, but it's a big deal. That's something I would like to say to my teen viewers. Sex is not what they make it out to be on TV. It's not romantic every time. It's not fun every time. Sometimes it's a waste of your time, to be quite honest with you. And it is important that when you make a decision to be sexually active with another person, to share your body, your most precious possession, with another person, that you're sure of that person and that that person respects you and you respect them. And that's something, I'm sorry, that a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, even an 18-year-old, that's not a decision that you're ready to make. So I'm here to tell you to wait. Wait, because I'll tell you the truth, I wish I had waited. Now, I would have waited a long time for my husband, because I am truly so in love with my husband. And I was not a virgin when we first got together, and I wished I had been, because he was the real deal. I was 32 when I met my husband. And, you know, there aren't a lot of 32-year-old virgins out there, but I keep thinking to myself, how special would it have been if the man that I ended up really being in love with and marrying would have been my first ever sexual experience? I think that would have made it even more special. I'm not preaching to y'all. You're all going to make your own decisions. I'm just saying that sex is basically just sex. It's an exercise. But when you have sex with someone that you are truly committed to and that you truly love and who respects you and who you respect, it changes everything. So I encourage my young viewers to think about it and to not just do it because everybody else is doing it or because it looks like it's fun on TV. Because it's not fun without feeling, without commitment. Sex is a bodily function. Anybody can do it. And it usually works. But when your heart is part of it, you know, you've got the vagina, you've got the penis. But when your heart is part of sex, it's so much better. So remember that too. And again, please, parents, please, please listen to your children. Don't be naive and don't make them naive. The more knowledge your kids have, the more responsible you will find that they behave. Because they know things. They might not cave into peer pressure because they know the risks of acting irresponsibly with their bodies. They know how precious their bodies are. And when it does come time for them to make the decision to enter into a sexual relationship, they will be able to come to you and discuss it and not feel ashamed or feel that they will be judged. That is the best gift any parent can give to their child. And just another warning, as we always say here, love shows and grows. Just remember this: hate also shows and grows. And if you're not willing to answer the questions your children have, there are others out there who are. And they don't have the love in their hearts for your children that you do as their parents. So thank you, Cece, Gavin, Michaela, Kiralis, all of my fabulous teen viewers who continue to make me think about things that I usually don't think about. And I hope this show answered some of your questions, and I also hope you'll share it with your parents. I love you all. Political Paula is out.